Spell red.
Red. L-S-T-E-R.
Alright, yo, what's going on, everyone? So today we're gonna be installing my new Stage 2 competition clutch. So this kit comes with a new flywheel, pressure plate, clutch, and all the necessary things to install it except for the hydraulic release bearing. This one's from Exedi. So this is the whole kit right now. I'm gonna show you step by step how to take it out and install new clutch. So this car came on a Stage 3 clutch when I got it, probably late 2021. So we're about to find out what clutch is in this car. We're gonna be putting in a new Stage 2 comp clutch and the new release bearing. So yeah, let's get into it. So what you wanna do is you wanna get the car jacked up in the air high enough to where you can drop the transmission if you're doing this on the ground. But yeah, so first things first, get the car up in the air high enough so you can slide the transmission out. So yeah, let's get into it. You want to go under the hood and pull the battery off, or the negative off the battery, so that you don't risk any chance of any electrical stuff getting damaged in the process, because you have to take off a ground on the transmission. Next step is getting under the car, taking off the downpipe and like the mid pipe section. So what you're gonna do now is take off this heat shield, and they're all 10 mil bolts. So what you want to do is now mark the drive shaft so that you can put it back in the same position it was in before when you took it out. So you got to mark front and all the way back there at the differential. So you'll be removing all the bolts that are on like the front side of the drive shaft, so everything closest to you. So there should be 3, 1, 2, 3, and then on this side too. So you'll be taking off this one, and on the other side up top. You can't really see it, but after you take out the drive shaft from over here and here, you're gonna be taking out the 2 bolts right there that hold the center part of the drive shaft. Alright, so I already got 2 out of the 3 drive shaft bolts you need to take out. This is going to be a pain in the half. So what I suggest doing, quick pro tip, right? You're gonna want to take your 19 mil wrench and angle it against the car so that you're able to use all of your strength. So have the wrench like sitting here and you want it against the car, and these are righty loosey. lefty tighty. So you want to get it like this, right? Make sure the e-brake is down so you can spin the drive shaft, and then have it sit here, pull the e-brake back up, and then I'll show you. So grab your breaker bar and something to put in the back of it, because you want all the leverage you can get, because these bolts are tight. So now you're going to take the breaker bar in this, and you want to pull it downward, like in this motion, because they turn off to the right, not left. Alright, time to move on to the rear section now. Make sure before you do anything though, you do get WD-40 on these bolts, because that's going to make your life so much easier. Or PV Blaster, WD-40, whatever you got. Okay, so for this portion, I already got the other two off. But what made it easier for me, if you have an extra jack stand laying around, you want to put it here, get this 19 mils, because this, so I don't know if it's just my gen, but the front is reverse threaded and the rear is normal. So the front is lefty tighty, righty loosey, but here it's righty tighty, lefty loosey. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. But I'm gonna get the breaker bar on here and then crack it loose. Ta-da! So now that you got these bolts out up here, now you want to take out these two center ones. So this one here, this one here, and then you can drop the whole drive shaft. Alright, so these bolts are a 14 mil, so they're a little tight, but alright, so I got the drive shaft down from right there. So what you have to do is you are going to have to pull down. So you have to pull down so that this is starting to like bend down towards you. Like if you're under the car, just have your knees hold this side up. But then this, you're just gonna pull it downward, and you're gonna start seeing right here, this part of the drive shaft just start kind of slipping off. And then you're just gonna pull it or push it in this direction outward so it slips off. And then now you do the same thing, which is pulling off the backside off the diff. So the drive shaft is out. And here. Alright, so for this part, what you need to do is you need to get a flathead screwdriver. You can reach from like in front. You wanna put it right under. You want to just pop this out. Alright, so now take the flathead and put it in between there. And you're gonna pop out the pin. So you're just gonna wiggle it out. There you go. Same thing for this part right here. So what you want to do, you see how I have it popped out right now? You want to get a flathead up top to kind of separate it from here and here. And then you want another one underneath that little lip part, and you want to pull out and to the side at the same time, and the clip will just pop right out, and then you'll be able to pull it out, no problem. So there you go, pins out. Alright, so you see this pin right here. You're gonna want to take this pin out as well. So with this clip, literally just get the flat, like once you pop it up a little bit, put the flathead against this edge piece and push upward with it, and it'll just pop right out. And then now you have the other pin to slide out. So this pin you might not be able to take out until you lower the transmission a little bit. But now you could go over to this side, unplug your backup like switch light. So just remove the connector, so you just push down right here on the tab. And remember, don't ever pull from the wires, pull from the connector piece. Next step is to remove, if you can see, right here. So for the next step, you want to disconnect the crankshaft position sensor on the top left part of the bell housing. Alright, you got the ball out. Now you just pull the sensor out. And there you go, sensor's out of the way. So now what you want to do next is remove the bolts off the back side of the front subframe for the damper. Alright, so now you want to get your 14 and crack loose 1, 2, 3, and 4 bottom bell housing bolts. They're all 14 mils, by the way. So grab your 10 mil and start turning out the ground. I don't know about you guys, but mine's a little roasted looking, probably because of the exhaust, but just move it out of the way. Just tuck it right there. You're good. Jeez. I think I'm gonna have to get a new ground soon. Alright, so now that you got everything disconnected off the transmission, like the ground, the backup light sensor, and then the crank position sensor up top, you take out the 4 bottom bell housing bolts. You want to go grab a jack and sit it down, or like a transmission jack if you have one. But get a jack it up so that there's all the weight off of the transmission, and then you want to take off these 4 transmission braces, or transmission brace bolts, and then you're gonna drop the transmission down like a few inches so that you have access to the rest of everything. So instead of me taking the transmission off from here, what I actually did was I took it off from right here. Alright, so as you can see, I dropped the transmission down just a little bit so that you have more access to things like that area over there and the rest of the bell housing bolts. So right now I'm just gonna start loosening up the bell housing bolts all the way around. Also, if you do have a piece of cardboard laying around, I would put the bolts back like into the cardboard the same way you took them out, so you know what bolt went where. So now you want to drop the front sway bar, this side and on the passenger side. So now that you got the transmission down, you might want to start cleaning up. Also, you can remove the hydraulic release bearing and put the new one in now. So just make sure you do clean up the bell housing, because it's all clutch dust and you don't want that with the new setup in there. Alright, so when you're taking off the clutch or the pressure plate, you want to just put like a little flat head on one of the teeth, make sure it's tight against the car, and then you take a breaker bar and you crack these loose, and they're all hex bolts. Be careful you don't strip them, or you're gonna have a painful time. Like I stripped 2 and I finally got them out, but I just have this one up here and that's it. Also, it's a lot heavier than you think, so be careful.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Alright, so I had already cracked the flywheel bolts loose. Use a 1/2 inch breaker bar for this with, I believe it's a hex 10. I had the screwdriver before, I had it wedged in there against the teeth of the subframe. Be careful when you take this out because this is a lot heavier than you think. Alright, so now that you got this all cleaned up, what you're gonna want to do is get a new set of gloves because you want to have the cleanest possible surface on the new flywheel, so that you can get it up on here, because you don't want any oil or nothing from your hands or from old parts, so you don't have any hot spots on the new flywheel like my old one did. So go get yourself another set of gloves, something, clean your hands, I don't know. So now what you want to do is you're going to want to take your new hardware right after you put the flywheel up. Take your new hardware, thread it in by hand, and then I believe you torque them down to 94 foot-pounds. Also, what I'm doing is that I'm putting some medium strength thread locker onto the end of each bolt, just a little bit, nothing crazy, like that much, and as you thread it on, it'll just spread itself out. Alright, so now that they're all hand tight, you just want to torque them down to 94 foot-pounds. Alright, so get your torque wrench to 94 foot-pounds and start torquing away in the star pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so now that you got everything lined or torqued down to 94 foot-pounds, well, if you have dirty hands, go clean them now, or if you got a new set of gloves you could put on, that'd be best. All right, so your surface should look like this, nice and clean, nice and shiny. All right, so now you're gonna want to clean all of this, make sure everything is dirt, grease free. So you're gonna want to take out 1, 2, and 3 bolts, and then those get torqued down to 7 foot-pounds when you swap this out. This rubber grommet too is gonna end up coming out, and you can just put it right back in after you put the new part in. So yeah, let's just take this out real quick and swap it out. So now I just want to take some brake cleaner, clean off the area a little bit, especially the spline area. You don't want no grease or anything on here, because if you contaminate the clutch, it'll just cause like premature failures, and you don't want none of that. So now what you do, you just take the rubber grommet and you just push it right out. So it has a little slit in it already, so when you do put the new piece back on, it just slips right over. When you just separate it, slip it back over, but you just push it straight out this way, straight out the hole, and you're good. So these bolts get torqued down to 7 foot-pounds, 1, 2, 3. So now you just put the rubber grommet back in from the other side though, and then it has this little split so you can slip it right back over, just like that. It's back in. Just push it from the other side of the bell housing and you're good. So now you just want to grease up the splines just a little bit, like very little. All right, so now you got the clutch on, and then make sure you use the clutch alignment tool, or else you will be having a bad time. So now you get the clutch alignment tool in, put the clutch on. Now you get the pressure plate and line it up on these little dowel pins. Make sure that it lines up and fits over that, or else the pressure plate won't go on. It won't seat right. All right, so now that you got the pressure plate on, just put all the bolts in. So the clutch does only go in one way. So the part you'll know, it'll be a little more flat against the flywheel. I put some medium strength thread locker on all of the bolts, just a little bit, just a little like drop of it. Like I said before, a little bit of it goes a long way. So now you can start torquing them down, star pattern. Also, now you can take your clutch alignment tool out. So there you go. So just make sure you have everything torqued down to the specs that you need. So this was 24 foot-pounds of torque. Also, again, sorry if I sound like shit. My allergies are killing me right now. All right, but right now I'm just working on my stainless steel line. As you can see right here, there's like a little clip right here. You just pull this out. Depending on which way it is, you either push it out, pull just away from this connection right here, because you need to take this little clip out in order to get your factory piece out. And then you take this little bottom part, and then so this is like your bleeder valve right here. So you'll be taking this off to put on the new stainless steel line. So hopefully there's better feel with this new upgrade. All right, so now that you have everything ready to go, my new line is connected. Put everything out of the way. I've got the flywheel, clutch, and pressure plate all in. I've got the new stainless steel clutch line in. The new hydraulic release bearing is in, ready to go. So now the last bit is just to mount the transmission back up, plug everything back in, get the damper back on. Alright everyone, my bad. So my phone died. So the camera died. So what I did was I got all the bell housing bolts back in. I torqued them all to a proper spec. I'll put a little thing up on the screen so you can see what the torque specs are. put the stainless steel brake line in, put this back on. The safety clip is back in too. It goes in between the two notches. You see how there's a notch right there. You get the slit, another slit on the side. Just push it straight up through there. Put the damper back on. Sway bars back on. Put the shifter linkage back on. Just have to tighten it down real quick. The pins are all back in. Just remember to plug in the reverse sensor. And then the crankshaft position sensor up top again. So right now I'm just putting back in the transmission brace bolts. Now I got the transmission brace in, bolted up. I'm gonna put the ground back on the transmission. Reinstalled my shifter linkage. Now time for the ground wire. Now it's time for the ground wire to get put back. So now we're just bolting with the drive shaft. So I got everything back where it's supposed to. So you put the drive shaft back on the splines where it goes, and then when you are all done, you want to line it all up with the marks that you had left on the bushings. So for mine on this side, some of them, so these outer ones were reverse threaded. These are threaded regular. Reverse thread, regular thread. So I had to use the body of the car again. So I just did the opposite way. I put the wrench here. I tightened down reverse. Now the other side, it's regular thread. So I just tighten counterclockwise. After that, you put your heat shield back up, your exhaust, and you're all done. Hopefully. Also, do not forget to bleed the clutch, because it will not feel good at all. You'll feel it just drops to the floor. So you're gonna want to bleed that clutch. So now we got all the heat shields back up. Time to put on the exhaust. Alright, so I don't remember where I left off on this video, but I got the Jenny back on the floor. So I might have missed a few steps. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I left off like putting the exhaust back on, and then the heat shields and all that, putting the car back on the floor. But take your car for a test drive. Make sure you do bleed the clutch really well. Like if two people want to pump the clutch pedal and want to open the bleeder valve, I still need to bleed my clutch a little bit more. It still feels like a little spongy. It's releasing a little low. I'll probably bleed the clutch again later today or tomorrow, as long as the floor dries up a little bit. Alright, that's today's video. Hopefully this helped any of you who are thinking about doing clutch job yourself. I do recommend you try and get it on a lift, because doing this shit on the floor is terrible. It took me like 3 days because I snapped one of the bolts in the flywheel, so I had to go get that out. My hardware store closed, so I couldn't go get another replacement bolt. So it was just a shitty day. But besides that, the install wasn't that bad. The hardest thing was really just getting the transmission back on. And that you do need two people for, or if you can do it with 2 jacks, that'd be best, or trans jack if you have one. I don't have one, so I have to use 2 jacks and a person, because lining it up is a pain, because it kind of rotates a little bit left and right, and then you have to get on the pins. So yeah, lining it up is kind of an issue. But other than that, the install is probably like a 6 out of 10 difficulty. Like disassembly was pretty easy. Putting it all back together was pretty easy. Just taking the transmission out and putting it back in, that's really just the hardest part, because it's just more labor intensive. But please do be careful if you're doing this job. So that's it. stay tuned for the next video. I don't know what the next video is gonna be, but it'll be something good for sure.